Bevan had finished in second place. Hobson finished in third in that 500-meter swim. But Hobson was by far the fastest in the cycle ride. Cycled suicidally in the descent, which was very, very tactical. Lessing having to take it slightly easier, was 1 minute slower in the cycle ride than Hobson, and lost the advantage he had built up in the swim. McMartin, who had only finished 7th in the swim for Canada, cycled tremendously strongly as well. Again, faster than Lessing. And after the cycle and the swim, Hobson led just by 3 seconds from Lessing, Bevan in third, McMartin in fourth for Canada. The cycling, the weakest of Lessing's 3 events, but he managed to do enough to keep in touch with Hobson. He really has had a tremendous year, Simon Lessing. He won the first event in the European of the European Super Sprint Championship Series, but was disqualified from the third of the 4 events in Germany after he'd won it, and missed a chance of taking that title with considerable financial gain being lost as well. Controversial decision that. He'd gotten his bike just a bit too early in the transition, and even though he won the event by a long, long way, instead of penalising him just a few seconds, he was disqualified. Well, the cycling was very, very tough. Quite reasonable heights reached up on those hills before the descent back down into the town and the transition. Hobson led down into the transition with Lessing in second place, just 3 seconds behind to left of picture. Bevan was quite a long way back, a further minute and a half behind these two, along with McMartin. But it was Hobson who had all sorts of problems in the transition. Couldn't find his changeover point where he parks his bike, puts on his running shoes. These athletes, remember, very, very tired when they come into the transition area, quite confused, even though he knows before the event where his shoes and bike should be. He loses vital seconds, and Lessing heads out onto the roads ahead of him. Lessing, one of the strongest triathlete runners around, and the event was all but sewn up, with Lessing going out onto the road in first place. Hobson had worked so hard on the hill to build up a lead over Lessing, and he'd lost it all there. Bevan and McMartin came in just a couple of seconds apart in third and fourth places for Australia and Canada respectively. The rules, of course, very, very strict in the transition areas. Athletes have to dismount, push the bike to the park position, put their running shoes on. Seconds vital in these transitions, and then head out on the 10K run in this event. In the women's event, Suzanne Nielsen had won the swim. She'd also been fastest in the cycle ride, and she led into the transition for the run. But Mantak was in second place from the USA. Quite a long way behind, 55 seconds the difference going into the transition, but Mantak a very strong runner. Lessing so strong in the run. He's been in great form in recent months. There was no way he was going to lose once he set out on the 10K coast run. Lessing performed with real class, as usual in the run, a full 35 seconds faster than Bevan, but Hobson was only 15th fastest in the run, more importantly, and dropped to third after giving his all in the cycling. It's all about distribution of energy. Lessing won the event then in 1:59.40, well under the 2-hour barrier, with Bevan coming through to second, 2 minutes and 9 seconds over the 2-hour barrier. Hobson was third, a further 18 seconds behind Bevan. Bevan there being greeted by the victor and world champion Simon Lessing. Hobson coming at a very, very tired man, the American, after really giving too much energy into the cycle ride. But the story in the women's event was all about the running of Mantak. She came storming through with a very, very strong run. She took the women's event. 36 minutes she ran for the 10K. Nielsen, well, she was almost 2 minutes slower and gave up that lead she'd built up in the swim and cycle. Simon Lessing, of course, the centre of attention after the event. Les McDonald, the president of the International Triathlon Union, present also at the finish. Simon Lessing after the event said, "I came out of the water first. It all went well for me, even though the cycling was pretty tough with a lot of climbing and some tactical demands on the turns. Once I got the lead after the cycle run transition, the pressure was off and I found it a lot easier." It's always very difficult at World Cup events to, with so many athletes show up. Will you do this event again next year? Yes, I hope to come next year and compete just as well as I have today. Lessing, you may be wondering, speaking very good French there, because he competes for a French club, spends a lot of the season in France, where of course the weather is slightly better for training, and it obviously benefited him this year. So the award ceremony then. Simon Lessing onto the rostrum first, receiving his prize from Prince Albert, who had to drop out of that amateur event earlier on in the day. What a year. The world title by 24 seconds, and Great Britain's men's triathlon is in very good shape. Probably the best in Europe, with Spencer Smith taking that junior title in Canada. Brad Bevan from Australia took second place in Monaco, 2 hours, 1 minute and 49 seconds. A full 2 minutes and 9 seconds behind Lessing. And in third place was Wesley Hobson of the USA, just 18 seconds behind Bevan. He, the man, remember, who'd had to drop out of the World Championships, came here to find consolation and have a go at Lessing, but yet again the Briton turned out to be the best man on the day. Triathlon, one of the fastest growing sports around, certainly has a very, very strong future. Well, don't leave us, we'll be back very shortly.
Eurosport.